This is gonna kind of be my Precision Matthews success story, I guess you could say. I kind of want to give you guys some background behind myself and how I got started in this. 6 years ago, we moved into this house and I had very little money, and I basically bought this lathe right here. It was $3,400 at the time. And boy, I tell you what, that was a stretch on my pennies. I didn't have too much cash to rub together at the time. I remember just barely being able to afford some high-speed stainless steel tooling for this thing. I think my first part that I made on this thing was out of brass, and it was basically a cut-off scrap. And it was a little funnel for my reloading funnel so that I could have a long drop tube to basically pack more powder into a cartridge. But yeah, this was my very first piece of equipment ever. You know, I bought it, and this lathe, like I said, it cost $3,400, and I think the amount of money that I've made off this lathe could pay for itself now about 20 times over in the last about 6 years. So yeah, very, very successful buy for me. It was totally worth it. And as you can see, mine's a little bit different than something you're going to buy from Precision Matthews. And yes, Precision Matthews. So let's talk about importers. Okay, it's an imported lathe. It's Chinese manufactured. Basically, all of the Chinese lathes are made in the same big factory, in the same city at least. So they're all kind of going to be the same. Okay, the difference will be the guy in the USA that you deal with when something breaks down. You know, and I got to say that Precision Matthews has been probably the best experience that I've ever had. You know, I've had limited experience with other brands, but I know from what other people have told me that Precision Matthews is just about the best brand out there when it comes to customer support. And if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to fix these things yourself, you know, you need the customer support, trust me. Yeah, like this tool rack up here, I basically made this on a sheet metal bender at the sign shop back in the day. I'm so glad I did, because I've totally filled it, and you know, just having my tools magnetically connected right there has been very worthwhile. Like, a couple of the reasons why I bought this machine was, number one, it had coolant. Okay, I do lots and lots of higher production, lots and lots of very big numbers, and so coolant was kind of necessary. Coolant will let you cut things faster, okay? And yes, it will also give you a better surface finish. And then one of the other things, and this is actually not an option that is available from Precision Matthews for this specific lathe, but I basically bought a Grizzly collet closer. I think it's product number 4028 in the Grizzly catalog. They may not even make it anymore, but basically I kind of had to convert it a little bit in order to get it to fit on this lathe. But a collet closer, trust me, is something that is extremely worth your time and is worth the money, especially if you do large production batches like I do, because I sometimes do runs of 200 parts on this thing. You know, just being able to open and close it, and there you are, you're ready to go for the next part, is a really handy thing to have. Now, the run out on this thing, I put a 10,000th gauge on this thing, and I could hardly even read any run out in this thing. It has a great spindle. The lathe chuck that it comes with, this is it right here. It's a Sanoyu. It's probably it's Chinese, but it's not a fancy looking lathe chuck, but I gotta say, it is really true. And yeah, I've never actually bothered to go buy a Bison chuck for this lathe, because the lathe chuck that it came with was just really nice. I am betting that when they put it on here, is they actually grind the jaws to make it true with this lathe, so that it's a perfect match of the lathe. That's the only way I think you could get it this good. A couple of the other things that were kind of essential to me when I was buying the lathe was the foot brake. Okay, I like safety. A foot brake is a nice thing to have. Also, it's just really nice for, like, let's say if you're running things in and out of the lathe really fast. Okay, that, you see it still spins for a while. With you can stop it instantly, okay, and then you can throw the next part, go to the next part, and that just will really speed up your production. So a foot brake to me is essential, not just for safety, but also for speed, okay, because it lets me put the next part in really quick. And also, if I'm dialing something in or I'm indicating something, I can spin it really quick, stop it, measure it, spin it again, stop it, measure it, so forth. It just it is a time saver. It is a worthwhile add-on to any lathe. All right, a couple other things. So yeah, leveling this thing out was pretty easy. For a while, Precision Matthews had a cast iron base for this lathe. I really wish I'd bought it. And yeah, I don't know if it's still in stock or not, but it may be one of those things that the manufacturer doesn't make it anymore, and so you can't get them anymore. But let's talk about the next thing that I bought, and that was behind me. So, like I said, this is the next thing that I bought. I think all said and done, like I bought this thing loaded. I bought every single accessory that they sold with it, the DRO, all the different drives for the different axes, and I think it was like 6,000 bucks at the time. It might be more than that now. But yeah, this is a Taiwanese made machine. Now, the lathe that I have that I just showed you, that's a 12 by 36, so it's a 12-inch throw and a 36-inch long cutting length. This guy, they're measured by the table. Okay, so it's an 8-inch wide table, and then it's 33 inches long. And then the T stands for Taiwan, because this is a Taiwanese made piece of equipment. So anyways, the castings on a Chinese piece of equipment will never be as good as they are on a Taiwanese made piece of equipment. And that's a good thing, because when you have hollow pockets that are in the castings, what that's going to do is it's going to create vibrations and resonances that aren't necessarily in tune with each other. And so they can escalate quickly. So this machine here will handle vibrations a lot better, even though it weighs maybe just as much as some other Chinese piece of equipment out there. Because the castings are better quality, it'll handle them. And then this is actually a medical piece of equipment that I found at a store. I cut all the holes in it and I made it into my R8 collet holder. So yeah, I can push it out of the way if I need to. I can also hang prints off of it to kind of like basically do all my measurements and stuff. And this is something I bought from Shars. This is not just your typical rotator. What this thing has about it that is unique is that it has a hole that goes all the way through it, which allows me to put barrels through it and do the extractor cut that I need to do for the Mosinagants that I like to play with. So down here, these are some of the lathe chucks that I have for the 12 by 36, the Chinese lathe. It's a D14 spindle. And this is the one, of course, that comes with it. And this guy here, this is a 4-jaw. This also comes with it, and I've used this a lot. It's limited to 2,100 RPM because of the size. And then this guy right here, this is a cat head. And this basically is what I true up receivers on. I see my son has stuffed a bunch of stuff into it. I made that myself. And then this is a 6-jaw. This is actually a Chinese chuck. CMEC. It's kind of a piece of junk. It really had a lot of run out in it. Basically, I had to true the back side of it, and I had to true the jaws and essentially make like a grinding fixture that I could like kind of grind this thing all into true. But now it runs pretty good in true because I basically set it up to work with my lathe. But yeah, it was a lot of work getting this thing right, but it has been worth it. And I don't use it too often, but when you need a 6-jaw, it's nice to have one. All right, so this right here was kind of one of my biggest purchases ever, and I gotta say, this Tormach has been fantastic. I can make a box of parts in about 2 weeks that will actually pay for this machine. As a matter of fact, that's what I did. I made a single box of parts, and in 2 weeks, I had this thing completely paid off. Really nice machine. And yes, it's profitable for sure. And I love the fact that I was able to buy this thing without going into debt. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, well, you could buy a Haas for just a little bit more. I was like, yeah, but you're going to have to go into debt for it, almost for sure. And a lot of people don't realize how much that debt costs them. I know my father-in-law has a lot of Haas's, and he's still paying some of them off. You know, you're going to add on maybe 50, sometimes 75% of the price of the machine, depending on what kind of interest rates you have. And with interest rates being what they are right now, yeah, they're expensive. But yeah, love this thing. 12 tool changer. It's been a big addition to my shop, and it's a big machine, okay, for this little 1.5 bay garage. In the growth of my shop, these are kind of some of the more recent pieces of equipment that I have acquired over the years. This guy right here is a 14 by 40 Precision Matthews GT, and the G stands for ground gears. Okay, the gears in this guy, the headstock, are hardened and ground, so this guy will be able to withstand very prolonged and continuous use. Now, the 12x36 Chinese lathe that I have from Precision Matthews, it also has ground and hardened gears. It's actually another one of the reasons why I purchased that one. Precision Matthews, they do sell a 12x36 Taiwanese lathe, but it doesn't have the hardened gears that Chinese machine does. So like, I needed something for mass production volumes. If you were like a hobbyist, you know, I would actually kind of recommend the Taiwanese machine. It doesn't really cost that much more, and the fact that it doesn't have hardened gears, if you're a hobbyist, won't really be an issue, all right? But if you're going to do prolonged, you know, hours on end machining where the headstock actually gets really hot, okay, you need ground gears. And also, these machines, I think they have like a 5-year warranty on them or something like that. It's the best in class warranty out there that you can get from an importer. But yeah, this guy, he's got a Bison 3 chuck 6-inch jaw on here, which is nice for higher speed work, which is kind of one of the things I do on this. And yeah, I do all of my high precision work on this guy. The cross slide on this thing has so little backlash that you can't even feel it, okay? Like, you probably could measure it if I put a dial indicator on here, but it would probably be less than a couple thousandths. And this guy right here has a little bit of backlash, and this is about 4 thousandths, but you know, I don't use this too much. But yeah, nice, beefy, solid machine, much heavier duty. I make telescope counterweights on here, and I also do all my chambering on this. I've actually got a barrel in here right now to be threaded. But yeah, has been a fantastic machine, and this one has actually got, it's got a little port on a little tray on the side that the 3-phase converter runs on it. So yeah, I did get a 3-phase version because the 1 extra horsepower that I needed, or that the 3-phase version came with, was something that I definitely need for when I'm doing the big counterweights. Because when I do counterweights, they're usually big monsters, 30 pounds or more. But yeah, fantastic piece of equipment. Everything about this machine just screams quality compared to my Chinese lathe. And yeah, like, anytime you buy a Chinese versus a Taiwanese machine, there will be a massive difference in quality. And that's why these machines, they cost more, but they are definitely worth it if you can appreciate quality and so forth. And then over here, I got my Tormach Slant Pro. This guy here, you know, he runs lots and lots of hours too. He actually probably runs more than the mill does lately. But I gotta say, this thing makes cuts that just astound me. And everyone who is like really into machining and has used bigger equipment is always very impressed with this guy and how well he does. I do have the automatic closer on it here, so basically, yeah, I can automate this thing if I want to, and actually I've yet to learn how to do that yet, but for now it just basically is my collet closer that I can open and stop with the foot pedal. And then down here at the end I have this guy. So this is a surface grinder that Tormach makes, and they don't make it anymore, which is really unfortunate because this thing is pretty cool. I also have the belt sander attachment for it, and if you're probably wondering what the heck is the belt sander attachment for, it's perfect for aluminum. If you want to flatten the surface of aluminum parts, that's what a belt sander attachment is really good for. These wheels, you need special wheels to run aluminum, and they get really bogged down with aluminum fast. Alright, so kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video is to kind of maybe motivate you guys if you're considering building a machine shop or kind of getting into this thing as a hobby. You know, give it a try. You know, I started with just that lathe back there, not really ever thinking that I would ever do this full time, and here I am very much on the path to going full time. I'm not full time yet, but I am actually 2 days a week doing this instead of my day job anymore. And yeah, it's been a fantastic, really fun path for me, and very rewarding, I should say. So, love my equipment. I think the coolest part about machining is that there is literally nothing that you can't do, and you will just, it's also a huge avenue of learning for you. There's just so many things to learn in this. And yes, the 3D printer over there is also a new addition to the shop. I'm going to be getting more of those. 3D printing though is not everything that it's kind of cracked out to be. If I was to say one thing critical about 3D printing, that is that it is very difficult to get products out of one of those things that I would consider of high enough quality to sell. All right, and yeah, it took a long time to kind of figure that out, but now I'm doing it, and it is not easy and it takes a lot of work. But yeah, so in conclusion, this tiny little shop that I am graduating up to a real shop, which has essentially 4 bays. It's a 3,000 square foot shop. You know, I'm going from this, what is this? This is a 16 by 22 inch room to a 3,000 square foot shop, and I'm really excited about that. And that is kind of, actually, this dream house that we've bought with this big shop and back was really made possible by this little factory that I've built here in my garage. So if you are considering going down the path of maybe buying a piece of equipment like one of these Precision Matthews mills or the Tormachs, you know, this is a fantastic path to go down.